welcome to the Better Gaming Show, the event and podcast series all about ethical gaming and how we can make it safe, secure, and socially balanced for everyone. I'm Jim, and today I'm joined by Ben Austwick, who is the Gaming Partnerships Manager at the amazing Great Ormond Street Hospital charity, which raises millions of pounds to fund vital care for one of the world's leading hospitals for children with complex and rare illnesses. Now, just a flag for people watching, when we say gaming, we're talking video games, we're talking streaming and online communities, and it fits perfectly here because it's all to do with gaming being a net positive impact. It also sits in my sweet spot from the perspective of this project and my day job as a fundraiser, because it hits good causes, entertainment, new opportunities for fundraising, and all with a gaming focus, which is something I'm really interested in my role. So hello, Ben. It's brilliant to have you on.
Hi, Jim. Thanks very much for having me on.
No, I really appreciate your time. Now, rather than me butchering your experience and your work history, can you give me a bit of background about you and how you ended up in your current role?
Sure. It's a very long story, to be honest.
Start at the beginning.
Very well. Okay. Well, I studied politics at university, and the more I studied it, the more I realized I don't want to be involved in politics. So weirdly, and then I got an email and it just said, hey, do you fancy going and teaching abroad? And I thought, you know what, I want to go and broaden my horizons. I'm going to go and do that. So went abroad, lived in Zaragoza in Spain, teaching English for a couple of years, then moved to Barcelona, best city in the world. I was there for 5 years in total. But after about a couple of years, I was like, my friends are here, and that my friends are like, I'll make friends over a weekend or a semester while they're here, but then they disappear back to their own country, which is great if you've got people that you want to go and visit and stuff, and you've got great locations, you can just, hang out with them. I went to Norway like 3 times in about 2 years, just hanging out with friends. But there's no way to kind of just keep friends there and grow a community of friends that you can kind of depend on and rely on and just hang out with. So I was like, you know what? As a kid, I loved having my own little radio station. I don't know if anybody listening remembers like Winamp, and I used to have a little online station. So I've always enjoyed kind of like broadcasting. So I thought, I also love video games. I'm going to start streaming on Twitch. Finally got decent enough internet to stream. I think nowadays everybody has that, but this was 10 years ago when it was quite hard to have the upload rates to stream. So yeah, started streaming on Twitch, and it's interesting because that was 10 years ago, and there's still people who joined me in that first year back when, I think I was streaming like Destiny 1 and PUBG and these kind of games that, still Destiny 1 maybe not, but they still have a bit of a player base now. But yeah, like that streaming time, that kind of like helped me build up a community. But while I was there, I actually moved back to the UK just before COVID hit. It was very lucky, like, because I wanted to be close to my family, and my grandparents were getting very, very old at that point. So I wanted to be near them, when the inevitable happens. And so going back just before COVID, it was a bit of a godsend. And then during the pandemic, I got furloughed because I was teaching English still. So I got furloughed. Hey, here's 80% of your salary and you don't have to work. And I was like, okay, I need to get myself into a routine. So I started streaming kind of 9 to 5. I say that it was more like 10 till 10 because once you get going, if you've got a really, you're on a roll, you just keep going. And yeah, and then like the community just grew and grew. During the pandemic, hit Twitch partner. I got partnered on Twitch and YouTube. And as soon as the lockdown was lifted, TwitchCon happened. And I'd done some charity streams before, like with the community. That's the great thing about having a close community. When you do a charity stream, like everybody comes together and everybody wants to support their creator that they've been following, that they kind of watch each day. And if you've got some wild and wacky forfeits that people can kind of trigger by hitting donation goals or having incentives, then people do kind of rally behind that. So I'd done some fundraisers before. But anyway, I went to TwitchCon after lockdown had lifted in Amsterdam. Genuinely one of the best weekends of my life. It was incredible. Just meeting so many people that you've got to know over the years, especially like during lockdown when nobody could really meet anybody. But then everybody from all parts of Europe and quite a few from across the pond in the US as well, all came together, had an amazing, amazing time. And then happened to just by chance go to the London Twitch community meetup there, and got chatting with an Irish guy, and I was like, wait a minute, you're wearing the Great Ormond Street Hospital charity t-shirt, you got an Irish accent. I've got a good friend who's told me that somebody from Gosh, he's also Irish as well, who also said that that's a guy working from Gosh, he's going to be there. keep an eye out for him as a friend. And we got chatting, had a really great chat. I was telling him everything about like, how I was teaching, but I wasn't particularly happy in it. I mean, and normal teaching is badly paid and overworked, but like ESL teaching is a whole nother ball game of
Yeah,
exploitation.
it's a level down,
It
isn't it?
really is.
Without doing anyone a disservice.
Oh no, the people that do that are completely underpaid and overworked. And I was on like 21K in the center of London that I needed to be in every day, which is just completely impossible. But like the dream was always to get into gaming and like being able or gaming and or streaming as a full-time job. Anyway, I got chatting with him. We spoke for ages, and I was telling him about like what my current work situation was like and how I'd love to be in the gaming and streaming world and how much I've done for charity. And lo and behold, like he left and he was like, "Hey, I'm leaving. Should after talking to you, should have a look at this." Like my position and see what you think. And went through the process and ended up with the job of, originally it was gaming and streaming senior executive. So that was the position when I joined. We didn't have a gaming team like we do now. Now we've got a team of 3 plus 1. They're not actually on our team in the hospital, but in fact, just this week, the gamer in residence started. So we've got a gamer in residence at Gosh who is going to be actually in the hospital kind of doing all sorts of things. In fact, I haven't had my induction with them yet, so I don't want to tell you what their job entails without them telling me first. But it's a very cool job, and it's going to be incredibly useful and beneficial to like all the patients and the staff there who are going to be upskilled to actually use all the gaming carts and things that we've got there. So
I actually thought I saw the ad for that gamer in residence about 6 months ago. So obviously, onboarding as a charity, you've got loads of hurdles and checks you've got to overcome. So it's probably for that position as well that that person. I just remember thinking it's such a unique role, and so it'd be interesting to see who's got it and how it develops.
Yeah, I actually haven't met them yet. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks I will. But I think Glasgow Children's Hospital, I believe they were the first in the UK. And I think there are more maybe popping up in hospitals around the world these days, because gaming is something that young people obviously love and adore. And that's a way to kind of get them to escape from where they are in hospital and just open their mind and just, it's like reading a great book. You kind of get just absorbed in it and you forget where you are. But a lot of the people who maybe maybe don't have the experience to be able to kind of set things up or update the latest systems or kind of download or get kind of games downloaded for these consoles. So there's like there is a need for these in children's hospitals especially. So it's gonna be great. I can't wait to work with them. So just to move on from when I was like the streaming exec. So we opened up a case at Gosh to, well, actually, I'll go back a little bit with Gosh. So I'm just blabbing here.
No, that's great.
Because there's so much history. I mean, thankfully I got my bit out of the way. But like Gosh's bit there, during, I think it was 2019, they were exploring new ways of opening up fundraising. And one of the ways was through live streaming, getting content creators to fundraise for them. And it was put on hold during the pandemic, which I'm still not entirely sure why.
It's kind of ironic, isn't it?
Yeah. I feel like the people, I don't know, I wasn't there at the time, but afterwards they went all systems go, got their streaming executive, who was my predecessor. Then he left and I took over. And then they put forward a case for a full-on gaming team because we saw the possibility of, we saw, how the gaming scene is growing and growing. And I know it's had a little bubble burst recently, but like there's still a huge amount of goodwill in gaming and a lot of money where people are wanting to, a lot of gaming companies are wanting to kind of not just support social impact, but kind of lead it and drive it. So there is that goal there. And we worked, before we set up the gaming team, we had in-game partnerships with like Sea of Thieves. There was an in-game sales, and Adopt Me, with the Roblox game, one of the most popular ones in the world. And so we saw the potential there, and then they created a gaming team. We hired a senior gaming manager who his CV is just, it's everything you want for somebody that's going to be involved in gaming and streaming. And he joined. I was the senior streaming executive, and we opened up a position for gaming partnerships manager. And I'd been doing that a little bit with my previous role, kind of speaking with the partnerships team and kind of developing those kind of asks to the gaming companies, and it just felt like a natural progression in my career to apply for that. So I did, and moved over to gaming partnerships manager, which is where I am now. I did that last year, and then we've just recruited in the last few weeks he started a few weeks ago. Try and get his title exactly right. The senior streaming executive, and he comes from Make-A-Wish UK, and with 16 years plus experience of working with creators and fundraisers. Genuinely, it's such a great team, and it's amazing that we can kind of work together. So to help each other and kind of progress, whether it's fundraising through live stream creators or whether it's kind of a gaming partnership that we've got that we can kind of that we can kind of open up some potential gaming partnerships to some of the creators on our creator program to help them with their fundraisers. And there's so much potential in the space, and we've managed to open that up.
It's amazing, really. Thanks for that sort of overview. But
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. You've probably sort of eliminated about 10 of my questions, so I'm going to have to work out where I am in the process of everything. But what really stood out to me is the depth of experience that you've got in your team. Obviously, gaming, streaming is seen by, I think, just like the wider general public, and specifically within the charity sector, as quite a new and innovative, channel that could be explored. And yet you're just mentioning one of your colleagues with 16 years experience, which just goes to show that it is so massively developed on one side as an industry, but not so when it comes to fundraising, I guess.
It's weird because, St. Jude's, I don't know if you're familiar with St. Jude's Children's Hospital over in the US. They have been fundraising, I think it was since it was either 2011 or 2014. Literally last week was looking at it. But since, I think it was it's easy to Google. Round about just over 10 years, they've been fundraising, and they've raised over $75 million just through live streaming. They have nailed it. And I'm sure the first few years kind of were a slog kind of getting it, because they weren't the very, very first, but they were one of the first. And they're kind of like the industry leaders when it comes to fundraising through live stream. So it's weird because obviously they've been doing it for over a decade. And there are some charities recently now who are like, hey, we've never thought about this. Let's have a look at how we can delve into this. So it's weird because I think Facebook fundraisers that popped up, and quite a lot of charities jumped on that and they saw it quite quickly. Whereas live streams have taken a little while for some people to notice.
And just with regard to Gosh and the setup within your charity, can you just give me some idea of the size of your overall fundraising team versus the gaming division?
So the gaming team, we are a group of 3, and then we sit in the partnerships team. So we deal with, which is, because before when I was the senior exec, it was in mass participation. So it was kind of working with our kind of mass fundraisers, because that's what it was really with live stream fundraisers. So that was a team of 23 at one point. I need to remember actually. But then the partnerships team, I believe it's, when we look at the new partnerships and also existing partnerships, it's quite similar. So apart from the general fundraising team, I generally don't actually know how big it is, because we're all in at different times with a hybrid working. So I don't exactly know the number, but we're a team of 3. And that's it. And then we've got obviously different divisions here.
Okay. Again, it's just a really interesting space as well, just with regard to the scale and the size of Gosh as a charity. It's one of these elements where it's London based, but it's a global charity at the same time because it's world renowned. So obviously you've got that ability there, but
that's the thing, actually. Just sorry, live stream. We've had fundraisers from all over the world: Australia, the US, West Coast, East Coast. We have had people fundraising. In fact, we've got a regular fundraiser who he raises quite a bit, and he's from from Czechia. So that's the great thing about live streaming. And especially if you are on Tiltify, which is if anybody's not listening and they're not familiar with Tiltify, it's a little bit like kind of Just Giving, but which I'm sure they'll love me to say, but they are. They cater to live stream audiences and those that they want to have a bit more gamification and interaction or interactivity with their fundraising. So you can get polls and rewards. And if you're live streaming, they'll have overlays so that things will pop up on your screen when you get a donation. And if you're on there, it's so easy. If the charity is on there, it's so easy for anybody in the world to just go, hey, I want to sign up. I want to fundraise for these people. And then it comes through via Follow Stripe or whatever.
Well, this is exactly where my steep learning curve on, your role and the projects you work for and Tiltify was definitely one of the ones that I clocked as a supplier for the Copper Key initiative that you did last year. And I just thought it was fantastic because it just ticked like every single box that a fundraiser would want to sort of tick in terms of innovation, in terms of new audiences, dealing with content creators. And I guess, for anyone listening, they don't know about the Copper Key. Do you want to give sort of an overview of the project and how it did?
Yeah, sure. I gave an overview of it to one of my colleagues yesterday, and I think I did a terrible job. So I'm hoping I'm going to do better this time.
You got it.
It was so we wanted something a bit flagship, because when we've had our fundraisers before, they've raised, incredible amounts, like 5-figure amounts for our fundraising campaigns, and similar, maybe kind of low 6 figures when it comes to gaming partnerships. But we wanted something that like we could build on every year that could become like our massive like flagship tentpole event. And one of the ideas actually Tiltify came up with was having a modern online version of like Red Nose Day or Comic Relief, that kind of thing. Children in Need, back in those days when we used to, I don't know, Jim, how old you are, but like that's something
huddle around. It used to be like telethons, exactly, where you get all celebrities answering the phones or dialing people, those real big TV episode moments, isn't it?
Telethon is what we called it internally, but like externally, we're like, no, let's not call it telethon because it's just going to confuse anybody under the age of like 35 is probably going to be confused what this is. So yeah, we wanted to do something like that, but make it digital and make it fun. And we'd had connections with creators. Obviously, we've got a celeb team, and we wanted to do something new, something different with Tiltify that maybe hadn't been done with the UK charity before. I don't want to claim that it was the first, because I've actually been told it wasn't the first, but it was our first. But we wanted to set up a big live stream fundraiser in this theme of kind of children in need, where proceeds go to Gosh, and it's all online though. This will be BBC One or whatever. It's going to be purely through creators' channels. And we did that, and it was called The Curious Case of the Copper Key, which is harder to say after a drink, but like we had a theme which was like a whodunit theme, mystery, which was put together by an experienced scriptwriter, and then it was kind of adapted into all these clues and kind of a mystery that was going to play out during this about a 5-hour stream. And it was fronted by Tommy Innit. Like if you're not familiar with kind of Minecraft or creators like that, he is a massive YouTube star. Was one of the biggest live streamers in the world a few years ago. Now he's more on YouTube, but yeah, he fronted it as Tommy Detective. That was him, and he dressed up in character. And we had people join us from all over the world. Actually, we had a couple of huge creators from the US. I'm going to drop some names here, but like people listening might know them, maybe not. We had Matt Pat, who was a member of the Game Theorists, but he actually retired and moved into politics as he moved into politics as a he was trying to make it sure that Congress people in the US considered creators when they were making laws. And online creators, so really essential bit of work there. But
so you were leading into your sort of like politics degree there?
We gave him a tour of the hospital, and I can't remember if I mentioned that. I think I might have done actually, but yeah, he came out of retirement to play this character who just did an amazing job. There's Keith from the Try Guys, another massive YouTube channel, and we had a few kind of local ones and also some comedians from around here, and it was hosted by Max Fosh, who is a pretty big kind of presenter. We got a lot of comedians and content creators, and we also had a lot of the clues being read through videos by some major A-list celebrities. Like we had Emma Bunton, literally a Spice Girl, as part of our event, which kind of gives me the Red Nose Day Children in Need feeling, because I think they did quite a lot of that stuff when I was growing up. And
when they're in their prime, wasn't it?
Yeah,
the Spice Girls. Yeah.
There were the days. And then we had Gordon Ramsay. He gave one. So I'm just name dropping here, but like we had some major A-list celebrity names that our celeb team did an amazing job at getting videos. It was kind of a mix of the traditional celebrities and also brand new, well, not brand new, but like the online content creator celebrities who are, people can say, oh, I've never heard of them. And I was like, well, they've got, 15, 20, 30 million subscribers on YouTube. Somebody that doesn't really enter that ecosystem might not know who they are, but 30 million plus people do. So it's just a whole new world that we were kind of mixing together in this. And it went really, really well.
And did you see massive spikes in terms of traffic driving from the different content creators to the project? And how did that convert, or did you see any trends or correlations between donations to the ultimate aim, which is fundraising?
It was interesting because we had the website team did, so before we had a couple of videos that Tommy put on his Instagram, and apparently when he posted those, we had a spike in traffic of people going to our website. So they're obviously like trying to find out a bit more about Gosh. When it came to the donations, we had a mix of kind of income when it came to the fundraiser. There were like three kind of pillars. One of them was public fundraising and like public donations. The other was through corporate sponsors. So we had people take part who would corporate sponsors take part who would donate a set amount, and we would make that a match funding moment. So people like PaySafe, Ripple, Adopt Me, they and MiniClip, and I've mentioned a few. I should mention them all, but there were apologies to anyone I missed, but their donations were like added during the event, and they made match donation moments. So it was like, hey, all the donations are going to be doubled for the next hour thanks to this company who kindly donated. And also we had a very generous philanthropist who donated a large amount, and we had another match funding for that as well. So yeah, it was kind of gamification, getting these match funding moments happen, but it wasn't just through public fundraising. And that's like what we want to do it again this year. Another live stream fundraiser, but spoiler alert, we're going to do another one this year. But and that's one way we want to really like focus, is trying to get even more through public fundraising, just to make it as gamified, as interactive as possible, so people will donate. And I was going to say, it's also interesting that we had, when it came to viewers, we actually had more people in the US watching than the UK. Very, very close. But
okay.
Yeah, and it just kind of goes back to when I say like fundraising online is really international. Even if like our charity is the name of a hospital in the center of London, you can still get that message out. And Gosh does treat people from all over the world. But and they obviously do lots of research, and there are things that they fund here that impact children across the world. But at the end of the day, it is a UK, the name of a hospital in London, yet we're able to get the message out and get support from people all over the world.
Yeah, and just with regard to, I'm a public fundraiser, so that's my speciality within my charity team. What just if you can reveal, what sort of percentage of the project's revenues came from the public fundraising sort of pillar?
I can't say exactly the same amount, but it was more through corporate sponsors.
Okay.
It's definitely more through corporate sponsors, and that's like, the dream would be to kind of get a balance. Although I suppose the more public people from the public are donating, I mean, that's more people engaged, so that would be even better. So that's like it's weird because there are people, I think it's like, so Jacksepticeye does, I don't think he did, he did last year, Thankmas, which is an annual kind of, very similar actually, but it's, rather than, whereas ours was like a whodunit mystery, his is more of a kind of variety show, similar to kind of the comic relief style, but with a lot more kind of digital and creators involved, and some gaming. And I know that through the public, they get a huge percentage through their public donations. Yeah, that's like the goal, is to try and increase that.
Well, just from an outsider's looking in, and the description you just given, it sounds like a fantastically successful initiative. Whenever we're doing stuff internally, the main aim is to try and activate as many divisions of the charity team as possible. So, public fundraising, corporate partnerships, events.
We had a big team. We had a big team working on it. Obviously, like, they're working with other things, but like we had, so actually it was headed by the Well, we had two kind of co-leads. There was me and my colleague Becca from the innovation team, because this is a first year trial project. Generally one of the best project managers you can ever imagine is Becca. She was fantastic at just getting everything, make sure we didn't miss anything. So she was sort of from the innovation team. We also had people there from, obviously from public fundraising, helping us. We had corporate partners, although that was like our corporate partnerships, that was our division. But yeah, design team were there, the film and TV, the families team. So we were able to get consent for videos of like telling patient stories during the event. And so yeah, we had these regular meetings kind of all the time. Celebrity team, like generally like the whole charity were getting involved. And it did involve a lot of kind of upskilling and teaching them about the content creator world and fundraising like this. But I think everybody came out better for it in the end.
I'd imagine that would be quite a large proportion of the job in that first iteration, because in order to get pulling a team from so many different parts of the charity all together, just making sure everyone's on board and understanding what you're trying to achieve would be a massive thing. Listen, it was clearly a massive success if you're going again. What I would say is, were there any, obviously first edition, what were the key learnings that in the second edition, you'll be, right, well, we're definitely not doing that again, or, this was a major issue that we're looking to solve?
There were, I mean, I don't think we're going to do like the kind of the whodunit story, because I think making it as interactive as possible is the real thing. Because people who are watching, they'll watch, and we had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people watching at any one point. In the end, I think it was about 200,000 views overall. But like a lot of people were watching it, but yeah, trying to get people, give them a reason to donate and give them a reason to want to take part. And if we could say, hey, your donation can kind of influence, if we reach this goal, this person's going to get I don't know, just an example, a pie to the face or something like that. Like if people can have an incentive where they can interact and they can change what's happening on their stream, that's going to be really like that's going to incentivize them to fundraise. And it's the same with any kind of fundraising that's online. So I said my first ever fundraiser I did was it's actually, again, going to internationally, it was to fundraise for the WWF Australia when it was the wildfires, which was quite a long time ago. I think 2018, 17, I think. And there were the wildfires, and like from back then, I noticed that if you want to fundraise, if you want to raise money, you need to make it so that people get something kind of in return for their donations, because that's what makes it kind of different to a regular fundraiser where you might get a thank you message, but there's no real goal. Although, like, I'm just thinking about that. Actually, back when it comes to kind of children in need, people used to, hey, if I raise £100, I'll dye my hair red. It's kind of similar to that, but you can do it even more when it comes through like Tiltify and your live streaming, because you've got 1,000 people watching a live stream and your name can pop up with like, thanks for the £10 donation. Just something like that can be really rewarding, as much as if you donate £200, the person on the stream will spend a minute creating a poem about you and your name and recite that. So that's not something we did, but just out of an example. So that can really kind of just incentivize people to donate. And it was interesting seeing like the average donations of like when it comes to campaigns, because when it comes to like streaming campaigns and streaming fundraising campaigns, an individual fundraiser, when they do it through a live stream, their average is much higher than somebody who just posts it on Facebook as like, hey, I'm going to be running a fun run, will you donate to me?
Oh, so the average donation value is much, much higher than the challenge events.
Yeah. And to be honest, like Tiltify are great if you want to chat with them. I don't know if you've ever spoken with them.
Who, sorry? Tiltify.
Yeah. I recommend giving that. Yeah, they're really insightful when it comes to kind of those kind of facts. I don't want to give any numbers, Gus, but like, yeah, they're the ones to talk to about it. But like the average donation value when it comes to live stream fundraising, like I don't want to just speculate, but like I'm going to speculate, but 10 people fundraising on Tiltify with their live stream compared to 10 people fundraising like off stream and in their own way, messaging family and stuff. I imagine the ones, and from personal experience, the ones doing the live stream will raise a lot more than those.
It's really interesting when you were talking about all the amazing content creators that you got on, 15 million, Tommy Innit, all of these, Emma Bunton, across the Gordon Ramsay, across a lot. At the back of my mind, I was there going, oh yeah, but that's easy because, gosh, it's such a national charity and it's part of the fabric of our society, and it's got that national appeal. But then when you're talking about streams just now, I'm like, well, there's no reason why a small regional like hospice like mine couldn't get involved in that, so long as they align themselves with the right creator who appeals to it, because the audience will want to give to that creator, right?
Yeah, and like if you get the creators on board, and sometimes it just takes one creator to really, really connect and resonate with your charity, and then they can bring their other friends in. I mentioned this at a talk, a panel talk I was on at Elevate conference last week, but we went to we decided to we've tried a few things over the years to see which one works the best, and there's a creator I know, like personally, he's a good friend of mine, and he does a lot of Sims content. And I was like, okay, let's do The Sims 4, which is a video game, like a life sim, if anybody's listening and hasn't heard of it. And he does a lot of amazing content, and he's big on YouTube for Sims content. And I was like, okay, well, let's try a Sims themed fundraising campaign. But this time I'm going to ask my friend to give me the names of a few people that I can reach out to, like on his behalf, and say that he was recommended. And he gave me the names of 12 people. And I reached out to all of them. One of them said they couldn't because they promised something else. Another person was going through some stuff that they weren't streaming. And all of the other 10 did a fundraiser for us, which is literally unheard of. Like I've also done it where I've contacted a lot of like my streamer friends, and we had maybe a yes rate of about 15%. I've done it when it's kind of cold reach out and it goes down to about 5, maybe 4% of people saying yes. But this like 10 out of 12 people saying yes, and the other 2 saying that it was literally just because of kind of logistics, they weren't able to do it. And those other 10 being like really kind of honored that their friend had and like some people that they'd really looked up to had like recommended them. They really appreciated that. So sometimes it just takes like one, and none of these people that I contacted I'd spoken to before. Like they were all technically kind of a cold outreach, but because they'd been recommended by a close friend, they had they said yes. So sometimes it just takes like one creator to have, and like maybe if it is a local hospice, if you've got you never know. Like we've got nurses in our hospital we've got staff at the hospital who do who are pretty big on social media. So you never know like who is local and who maybe has a massive online community and massive following that can then kind of reach out to their friends and eventually just grow that network.
Yeah. Now I think about it, we had a doctor who had a 30,000, like small in the grand scheme of content creators, but had like 30,000 followers on Instagram because she did botanical art. And you're just thinking there that, yeah, that would have probably been a good starting point in terms of doing all of that. When you're setting all these programs up, obviously with charities, you've got to be mindful of safety and doing the checks to make sure you're compliant with the fundraising regulatory code. And there's also the element of the audience in terms of online safety, media consumption and screen time. Can you just give me an overview? Again, really broad question. Sorry, Ben, but of like the considerations that you need to undertake when you're looking at these sort of projects.
Yeah, the interesting thing is like anybody can live stream for you. It's a bit like hosting a bake sale. So I try and use that reference, which I thought I came up with, and then a friend Rachel at Copperfield was saying like, "Oh no, I've been using that kind of example for years." So I was like, "Okay, damn it wasn't that original." But if you think of like a bake sale, is you can't go and kind of control everything that everybody says. You can't, just because you've got the ability to kind of drop in and watch someone's live stream, you can't monitor their speech as much as you can somebody that's selling cookies in their front garden for you. Whether there are ways that you can kind of really try and stop that, stop kind of inappropriate stuff happening, and making sure that one of the things, like the people that you contact and reach out to, make sure that you've checked them out and you've done your due diligence on them, because there are some people out there, and I don't know if anybody's watched the Manosphere thing with Louis.
I was just literally going to say, make sure they haven't appeared in the Manosphere documentary.
Exactly, yeah. You see that there is a wild side to, wild is putting it mildly, but there's a side to live streaming that, I think it's like, there is a side to live streaming that is not good. And you just need to make sure that you find the good side. Luckily, there are certain platforms that don't tolerate that kind of stuff, or tolerate it a lot less than others. So you can kind of hone into the platforms like Twitch, which people will disagree with me that they take a strong kind of stance on kind of hateful stuff, but they're definitely the ones that get through and get overlooked. But Twitch is generally a better place than some others, which I won't name, and I want to get into trouble legally with that. But when we also make sure that, because sometimes like people will talk about your charity not intentionally wrongly, but because they don't have all the facts. So we've got like a fact sheet where we can give them, and they can download it from the Tiltify page. So there's a toolkit you can download with the banners, and that includes like a fact sheet. So that if somebody says, "Hey, you're from Los Angeles, tell me about Great Ormond Street," and they don't just go, "I don't know." They've got a fact sheet now, so we can say, "Hey, it's it's founded in this year, and this is what the fundraising will go towards," and all that kind of stuff. So they've got all the information there. We've also got like a code of conduct for people to read and go through before fundraising. So you do everything you can, but like I said, it's live stream. You can't. We don't like they're fundraising for you on their channel. So they're hosting it. They're not coming onto our channel where we would, if they were coming onto like the Gosh Charity Twitch channel, which we haven't actually live streamed from there before. But if they came on, well, not in about 5-10 years, but if they were coming on to our channel, obviously we'd be able to say, "Hey, no, you can't say this. You must stream this game," and be really restrictive. But they're fundraising for you. It's an in aid of fundraiser, so they're just doing it. But they're doing it on their channel in their home. That's with their community. They know what their community wants. They know their community best. One of our biggest fundraisers is one of the nicest, most wholesome people, the friendliest guy you'll ever meet. He's been to some of our events. Tom NK21 he's called. And he streams Phasmophobia, which is this terrifying ghost hunting game with jump scares, and it's generally scary. And the game, I don't know what the rating of the game is. I imagine 15 plus at a minimum, maybe 18. But like that we're not going to be like, "Oh, you must play children's games. You must play games suitable for children," because the fundraising is aimed at the people in that community. It's like we have gala dinners for Gosh. Just because we're a children's charity doesn't mean every bit of fundraising must be targeted towards children. So like gala dinners aren't aimed at children. Like they're neither the clay shoots or so like when we're asking people to fundraise for us online, I know there are some charities that like don't play 18 plus games, but and that's one of the rules actually. One of our things that we put in there is that if you are playing an 18 plus game, exercise like kind of restraint from doing, like there are some games that would be very inappropriate to play while fundraising for a children's charity, but let them do it. And also when it comes to let them kind of decide what's suitable for their community. But also when it comes to things like Twitch, as soon as you select the game that's in a mature category, it comes up with like a warning and people have to click start watching. And like there are blockers that when it comes to Twitch that automatically flag when people are playing an 18 plus game.
Yeah. Again, you're completely changing my mind on how I was going to approach this, because I, again, work for a sort of an adult hospice. It's a small regional one, and the profile of our donors and our supporters is probably, on the whole 50 plus, because that's just the nature of people and their experiences with hospice when their parents die or close families, and it's that older profile. And when you're talking 50 plus, it just doesn't match with the gamer profile of, streaming. But then you've completely changed my opinion, and I'm there going, with the content producer or the gamer is on board with raising money and their audience is on board with supporting it, it just makes sense to do it and give it a try.
But also, you don't know where the connections are. We always joke about like the Gosh connection, because even just yesterday I was talking to the streaming exec, and he reached out to a talent agency, and the person came back with like, "Oh yeah, my child was treated at Gosh." And it's the same with like a hospice. You never know, there are people maybe at the hospice whose children or grandchildren are massive streamers. Like my grandmother, she passed away a few years ago in a care home. If I'd had a message from that care home being like, "Hey, we're fundraising, we want to do some fundraisers, like, would you like to do a live stream fundraiser?" 100% I would have said yes, because there's that personal connection. So you never quite know who has a connection to it. So it's trying to just get it out there as much as possible and ask ask people to be like, hey, do you have any children or grandchildren who are massively into live streaming, who have an audience and a community and then want to fundraise for it? And like I say, it just takes one with a big audience that could potentially grow. And even if one doesn't, even if you get somebody who has a very, very small audience, you never know, they might grow, they might have connections, they might have friends, they might have 3 people that watch them once a month, but one of them is incredibly generous and wants to kind of donate as much of their money as possible. It's, you never quite know what to expect. And when it comes to donors, and I feel like a lot of charities have, I don't know actually, but I don't want to speak for all the charities, but it's always important to look for kind of the next generation of donors. And I think like the younger generation now are looking to, like, everybody's a live stream creator. Everybody posts on Instagram. You just go on any moment and there are people posting pictures that want to get as many likes as possible. Like, everybody's an influencer. Using that to kind of generate the next kind of generation of fundraisers is the way to go.
I think the other thing as well is just, we always do this assumption. Well, I certainly do. You age people and they go, well, if they're 50, 60, they're not a gamer or they can't work a computer. And you're like, the smartphones have been out for like coming up to 20 years now. So, the elder generations or the older generations have been gaming, with starting from a Nintendo 64 or a CPC.
You're completely right. I think I've been guilty of that during this call. I apologize to anybody who's like 50, 60 plus is a big gamer. There are people like because I stream generally quite chilled out games. Although at the moment the new Pokemon Pocopia, absolutely obsessed with it, is incredible. But like, there are people who watch me and chat who are hopefully none of them will listen to this, but like who are in their 50s, and they hang out, and it's quite a mature in the sense of like age rather than the actual content, but like it's generally like a mature area that people like fellow adults and working professionals kind of watch and sometimes play along with. And yeah, you're completely right. There are fundraisers, and I find as well, I don't know from experience, like some of the creators, like most of the creators that do stuff for us tend to be in like their 30s, 20s and 30s. So it's not like the teenagers, and that we wouldn't want anyone 18 or like under 18 to fundraise, because that opens up all kind of Wednesday. In fact, I don't even think it's even legal. I haven't checked, but
Yeah.
we don't do that. It's always people over 18, but it tends to be like the slightly, I'd say like people in their early 30s or 30s are generally like the point where they have a community that's that age and maybe have a bit of disposable income that might want to kind of donate when there's a fundraiser going on.
And how do you see this aspect of fundraising growing in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
I see more and more charities joining, like they're joining all the time. So it's going to be a bit harder for every charity to stand out. I don't particularly know. I think charities will have to just be a bit bolder and it needs to keep evolving, because if everybody's like, hey, will you stream for us? Here's some overlays. Like, okay, well, what else can they do? We've tried it with like incentives so that people get a pin badge or a t-shirt if their fundraiser reaches certain goals. But it's just, trying to be innovative and do something and do something that makes streamers excited, get them involved, get them to do something a little bit different, maybe even get streamers out of their comfort zone from, if they do, because I'm saying streamers rather than gamers a lot, because a lot of the people who do stream don't play games, and it might have like a history in that, but a lot of them will maybe just be chatting, or they're doing a workout stream or a cooking stream, or they might be just out and about IRL in real life, just wandering around and live streaming that. So it's not just down to gaming.
It is tricky because you see some of this content and you're like, how's this person getting 12,000 people and they're just, talking into their phone, in their car seat, and you're striving to sort of get an audience, about some social purpose, and it can be infuriating sometimes when but then it's engaging content and it's very natural, and they've got that personality that people just want to listen into.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very much like that, and quite a lot of people as well. I find that they're there for the community as well, so they might especially when it's someone that's got like 7,000 live viewers. It's hard to kind of spot anybody because the chat's just going crazy and there are thousands of people in there. But especially when it comes to, I'd say, people with like a viewership under 300 or whatever, like there are people that will pop in every day at certain times, and there's a regularity about it, and it's just like chatting to your colleagues when you go into work and all your friends. You have you see them every day and you chat with them, so there's that community there.
Yeah, my algorithm shifts at the moment. It's kind of one of these ones where I think because I've probably watched long form content of a couple of urban explorers, and then they've literally, and then I've just been served urban explorers all over the place. Then you find your favorite, and then you dismiss the rest. So yeah, it's an interesting aspect of all the streaming and the content and where it's going.
Yeah.
Been chatting for quite some time. I've just
So
realised.
quickly.
It's been sort of great hearing your views, and I think I've picked up so much information to take back to my day job. Just as you're sort of closing off, I just really wanted to just get an idea of what the last question would be, just to get an idea from you and your personal development. What has been the proudest moment so far in your streaming and gaming career with Gosh?
A good question. Probably was the copper key. Just because it was so much work, so much kind of effort, and it was like the first time I'd ever worked on a project that big. Like we've done the fundraisers and we've done our kind of fundraising campaigns or live stream campaigns before that required a lot of time and effort and stuff. But like that was such a mammoth task that when it all came together, the people there, whether it was the production team or whether it was the actors or the creators, like that was like that on the night, seeing everybody just having an amazing time and raising almost £500,000. I think that was definitely the like, wow, we did something. It came from just an idea, from literally a throwaway comment in a meeting that we had with Tiltify a couple of years ago, being like, hey, this would be a really cool thing. And then me speaking to our head of fundraising and saying like, what do you think to that? And her not going like, well, that would be, I was like, no, that sounds a bit risky. But she actually was supportive and was like, yeah, let's find out more about it. And that kind of just gave me the drive to push it forwards. And then, yeah, a year later, it actually came to fruition. I think that was definitely my proudest moment. And hopefully we'll have a new proudest moment this year when we do the one that we're currently in the process of planning right now, which I can't give too much away. But is there any companies or anybody wanting to do any match donations or anything like that? They know where to find me.
So on that note, I will just put it in the comments and the show notes for this, all of the contact points for you and Gosh as well, so that if there is anyone that wants to support the charity or ask yourself any questions about streaming and content, I'll point them in the right direction. Your content on LinkedIn for me is, something that I am zoned in on. Really helps me as not as a novice, but just somebody who's really exploring this space and seeing all the different events that you attend. So I know that you're being a big advocate for streaming and good causes and raising that profile and looking at all the different events that you're speaking at, which is really good. And yeah, just once again, I really enjoyed this conversation and I really appreciate your time, Ben. So thanks a million for gracing us with your presence.
No problem. I really appreciate you asking me to come on. I can't believe it's been as long as it has been just chatting. It's gone by so quickly.
Brilliant. Okay, well, that's everything from this episode. Thanks a million for watching and catch you in the next episode. Cheers. Hello and welcome.